Hey there, and welcome to episode 13 of the How to Film Wedding podcast. My name is Nick Miller, and today I'm joined by John Bunn. Why don't you say hi, John?
Hi, John.
Man, you're going to do that. Anyway, and we have Scott McKenna with us from Scott McKenna on YouTube. Also, he runs a wedding film school channel. And I want to let you know that our goal is to help connect wedding videographers and others that can help them grow their business, get better at shooting weddings, and also improve the wedding industry. Before we get into our conversation with Scott, I just want to say thank you so much to all of our listeners. We got about a dozen episodes out right now, and your support and the downloads and the comments and everything has really just blown away John and I. We're super humbled, and we just want to thank you so much for taking out a little bit of time each week and listening to this podcast.
Yes, thank you so much to everyone for listening. We seriously do appreciate it.
So here we go with our conversation with Scott McKenna of Wedding Film School. Well, Scott, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing great. So for, some people that may not, know who you are and, where you've come from and stuff, why don't you give kind of a quick story, your, how you got into, wedding filmmaking and then the vlogging and wedding film school and kind of all of that kind of stuff. How did that all come about?
Yeah. So I started, filming in general, maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. Well, actually, I probably started filming in general about 15 years ago when I was a full-time musician for about 10 years. I naturally was always kind of filming everything that I did anyway, and then just editing it for my own sake and sending it to friends and stuff. That was kind of before YouTube was really what it is. I used to travel a ton in 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, which was when YouTube was a baby. So it wasn't really something I ever was posting. So I don't even know where any of the footage is anymore. That's part of where the difficulty of it's much easier now to keep stuff than it was. But I kind of was always filming stuff. And then I moved to Arizona in 2010, and I was kind of done being a full-time musician. I was kind of tired of it. So I had seen a company come in to a church I was working at that actually filmed a little promo video for our church. And I was like, what are these guys doing? They were using 5D Mark IIs at the time, which I hadn't seen anyone using those kind of cameras. And I was like, what are they using those cameras for? So then I went to their website to see kind of what they did, and I saw they were doing a bunch of weddings, and I was like, I can do that. I know how to film. I know how to film. That's easy. I should do that, because I thought back to my wedding in 2019. I had nothing really from my wedding, because in 2009 when I got married, it wasn't a popular thing. So I was like, I want to create wedding videos, because that's such a cool thing to give couples, and it's such a unique edit and such a cool style of how they were doing things. And so I kind of decided that, and the way that I operate is when I decide something, I just do it. So I think I think maybe 2 days later, spent $6,000 on 3 cameras and 9 lenses, because I bought all really cheap stuff at the time. I remember calling B&H and saying, since I'm spending so much, is there any chance that I can get a discount? They're like, listen, we're going to say this really nicely, but you'll see that eventually this order that feels so massive right now is such a tiny amount compared to what people spend. And I was like, what are you talking about? This lens was $900. So anyway, so that's what I did. And then I just started building stuff up from there. Filmed my first wedding maybe 9 months after I kind of decided to do it, once I kind of felt like I was ready to do it. And then that's kind of where I'm at today. And then now I have a video production company that does weddings and a lot of commercial work.
Yeah. So are you primarily where are you with that? Are you primarily doing weddings? Are you primarily doing commercial stuff? Are you really shooting a ton anymore? Or is it more you have your business and you have your people and they go and do it?
I still shoot the weddings, myself and Pablo right now in the back over here. He works. I have 3 people that work for me. Pablo and I right now shoot all the weddings. Then we have another person that does all the editing primarily for them. I do kind of final color look throughs, audio type of just watching back things, making sure everything is sent out on from my desk. But I still enjoy filming a lot. I don't like editing at all, not just weddings, just in general. So I kind of feel like I'm not a fan of trying to do everything anyway. I feel like I like putting people in place to do what they actually thrive in. To me, I thrive with people and getting the work, and I like filming. I don't like editing. I feel like it's really tough for me to sit down and do that. So I just hire editors that do a lot of work, that like that kind of stuff. And then I just do a lot of filming and a lot of the commercial side of client relations and all that. But I'm definitely just migrating a little bit out of like, having to do everything from a wedding perspective myself. Just because there's obviously more business in general that's available. So I don't want to have to. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old now, so weddings are a little bit tougher than they used to be because now weekends matter more than they used to. So I definitely, but I'm also just a fan of building a business of people that can continue to make things happen in different places.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a positive in growth in business. Whenever you can, have people work under you or work with you or work for you or whatever, that you're really moving in the right direction. I really like what you had to say there about putting the right people in those places, and then like letting them do what they're good at, and helping them be successful in what they are doing. And I know as a business owner, it's really hard to like take that step back and let people do what they're good at. But whenever you find the right people, you're just going to grow and succeed a whole lot more.
Yeah, it all comes down to your ego. The only reason people have a hard time letting go of certain things is because they feel like they're the best. And if you think you're the best editor in the entire world, well, you're not going to let anyone edit your stuff because no one can be better than you. But I learned a long time ago that people that love editing are going to be way better editors than I am because they're actually enjoying what they're doing when they're doing it. And so as soon as I got rid of caring about like my ego, it mattered it changed everything for my business because I would let things happen that normally I wouldn't, and then the result would be great because of it. And it has just changed everything for me and how I look at all things.
Yeah, I think that is very huge. I mean, I think a lot of us feel like we have to be the one to do everything, especially if we're just getting going. And, for our listeners, some of them are still working another job or doing other things, but like knowing what it is that you love and what you're passionate about really will help you. Maybe you can't do that today. Maybe you have to start out, doing the editing, but like knowing that that's a goal. Did you start out with just you? Did you have other people around at the beginning, or how did that process work for you?
Yeah, I started naturally. I started by myself and with my wife. It was obviously a cheap way to do it. I didn't have to pay her anything. We enjoyed filming. That didn't last very long because it was really hard for us to separate like, I'm your boss when you're working for me, but your husband when we're like that just it wasn't fun.
Conversation.
And she enjoyed it. She has a good perspective. She still like an edit doesn't go out the door without her approving it because she's my client. Like she's my target market. I mean, like if there's something that she sees that I think is this beautiful cinematic thing, and she's like, that's a weird shot, I'll change it immediately because she's who I'm actually trying to reach. I always tell people in the nicest way possible, like, I don't care what other filmmakers think of my films because they're actually not who I'm looking to impress. Like, I'm looking to make the best films possible for my bride and my groom. Like, I don't care about what other people think of them because that's not who we're trying to impress. And too many people get tied up in that, I think. And so yeah, it just started with the two of us. And then we stopped that after we had our first child in 2015.
So did you guys just bring on a part-time editor, a contract person?
So at that time in 2015, it was more of I brought on Pablo started to work with me a little bit during that time. It was kind of one of those things where my wife would kind of film some, but then I was definitely looking to bring on somebody that would be consistent. The hardest part about weddings and second shooting and all that is just you need to have a consistent person doing it.
Yes.
If you have someone, if you're putting, I mean, I see people that like, are throwing ads and looking for a shooter for this date or a shooter for this date. I'm like, I could never operate that way. I just don't know how you could do it. And so I was right away on board with trying to find out who I could bring on, who was interested in actually doing that, not trying to just find a great filmmaker and like, hey, you ever shoot a wedding? They're like, no. Like, I wanted to find someone that really would have a passion for actually shooting the weddings because that's how I get good work. So then it kind of just evolved. And naturally, if you pay people and you pay them well and then you consistently pay them, they stick with you.
Like, it's funny how that works.
Yeah, it's
and so now are you guys, is it just like you said, you and Pablo back there, or
no, so there's another guy, back there. I have three editors that work essentially three people that work for me. Pablo works full time for me, and Pablo will shoot and edit our main editor that does wedding stuff, he only edits. And then Tom back there also shoots and edits, but he is kind of a hybrid between two. He's like one of the newest people that started working with me. So I'm all about like, Tom had talent. I loved Tom as a person, and it was about I'll hire you and we'll figure out what you're going to do if I really like people, because I feel like I can help train to do certain things that what I like. I can't change who someone is. So I look for the people and their character before I care about what their best skill set is, because I feel like if I like working with people,
you can train them.
I can train them.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
so that's how I've always been.
Yeah, that's a big thing. We have some photographer friends in town, and they're starting to, do associate brands and that kind of stuff. And the big question that they ask is, are you teachable? Is this person teachable? And if they think they're the bee's knees, when it comes to shooting or editing or whatever, then did I just say bee's knees? If they think they're really great, like their ego is just too big. And like you were saying, that just has to get out of the way before you can even move forward in doing something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a balance. Like if someone comes in and they know they're incredible at doing what they do, I don't necessarily like have an issue with that either. If they can understand that there might just be certain things that I'm going to ask for that are more of what I prefer and what I need, like that's completely okay. But yeah, in a heartbeat, I will hire somebody that I know is really eager to learn, because that's how I've always been to this day. I still am obsessed with learning. And if you are always wanting to learn, you'll never stop growing. And especially in this business, you're never mastering anything in video production. You're only getting better and better each time you do it. And the minute that I feel like someone thinks that they don't need to work on something, like, nah, it's not going to work very well.
Right. That's great advice. Always be learning, always, try to improve your craft, and always try to get, better and better. I know that, so you have your wedding film brand, you have your commercial, and those are under the same name, right?
Right now they are, yes. Yeah. I'm changing that though.
Okay. But you also have, a personal Scott McKenna like YouTube channel where you vlog a whole lot and do a lot of that stuff. So where did that idea come from? How much time do you spend doing that? Are you
too much?
Too much time.
Not too much.
Do you, is that whenever you hired other people on full time, was that kind of one of the things that you really wanted to do was, that personal vlogging kind of stuff? Like how did that all come about?
So I believe that if you are a video creator of any sort in 2018 or 2019, whenever this eventually plays, you are making a huge mistake if you are not producing content for yourself. Video content is such a humongous thing, and we all try to sell clients and try to sell people on they should hire us for video, and they should hire us because video is so effective, blah 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 blah. But yet if we're producing zero video for ourselves and for our company, we're wasting a golden opportunity to showcase to people what we do. And so I made it a point that when I went full-time in May of 2017 that I was going to create as much YouTube content as possible for free to continue to build my personal brand, to build what we're doing in general. So it's been 18 months since I started that, and I've posted 335 videos or 355 videos, something like that, a ton of videos. And it's literally to this day how I get every single client that I ever get. And people just can't always comprehend that. People always want to say, how much money do you make money on YouTube? And like, if you ask yourself that question, you already are going to lose, because it's not about the income that I make from AdSense or from Amazon affiliate. It's that I'm building a brand that is showing up more than anyone else in terms of what I'm trying to do. I want you to think of me as the video guy, that when you need video services, you don't even necessarily know what the heck I do. You just know that you keep seeing me on videos because I'm posting in these different places, so that you think of me. And so that's how we get our clients, is clients will come across vlogs I do or different things based on me knowing strategically where they are and where to place them, that I don't send any emails to people about like, hey, we do video work, would love to talk to you. I get almost all of my work from LinkedIn, and it never has to do with like me sending clients a sales pitch email of trying to work with them. It just has to do with me knowing who's watching, and I post videos so that I show up as the video person, so that when people eventually start to think about it, they're like, that Scott guy must do videos because I keep seeing him show up. So that's literally been my thing.
Like I've been like, Nick and I kind of pound this home a lot, just the fact that it's like daily moving that needle just a little bit, taking a step forward. And when people do think about who they want to hire for, whether that be their wedding or for, you know, a commercial project, if you're not showing up consistently over time, people just forget they're busy. And so that's a huge point. Just the consistency of it. How often are you posting? You're doing daily at this point? Or are you still?
No, I don't do daily. I did daily for a while. Then I did a schedule for a while. Now I do every time I possibly can. I would say the average is usually 3 to 4 times a week. It really depends on, I don't really try to base it on like, was this an exciting thing to post, or was this, you know, a topic? I don't plan out my videos. I wake up and I start filming, and then at the end of the day, if I have something I feel like is valuable, then it may make a video. I don't wake up with like ideas of what I want to talk about, because my vlog per se is so much more about kind of documenting what I do versus trying to, like, I'm not trying to be a vlogger. I don't ever want YouTube to be what I do. YouTube is just a way to build what I'm doing. So I try to just post as much as I possibly can. I don't have any sort of thing that says like, you know, videos are out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's literally just whenever. Sometimes I'll have 20 days in a row. Other times I don't have one since last week because I was in California on vacation for Thanksgiving. So I just don't overstress it either. Cool. I don't let it bother me like, oh, I desperately have to put a video out. Like, I just want to post as much as I can.
think that's refreshing too to hear for your listeners. Like, it's not necessarily just about, oh, I have to get this out. If it ever becomes that, I feel like it becomes something that you don't love or are not passionate. Like, if you felt like you had to get one out, I mean, it's not the same as like, I want to put this out there because I feel like it's good for the world to see it.
Exactly. Yep. And that's how I look at it, is I don't overstress it. I want to do as many as I possibly can, but at the end of the day, I'm not concerned with like, no, even when you have 10 million subscribers, I really don't feel like people miss you as much as you think they do.
Yeah. You're not
like,
as big of a deal as you think you are.
Right? Yeah. Like I especially because like, you know, you only get a 8 to 12% view to subscriber ratio anyway. So most people aren't watching your stuff anyway, even if they are subscribed. So I just don't let it overly bother me. I don't care about when I post a video. I could care less about the views it gets. I could care less about the AdSense. Like, it's just, I do it because I like it. And I do it because I know what it's essentially doing for me in the background, which is building my business. And then I enjoy it more because I don't overthink, are they going to like this? Is this going to get good views? What title should I use? Thumbnail? I just enjoy it much more when I don't worry about it.
Yeah. So when you started your personal YouTube channel, and did you really started pouring into that about 1.5 years ago whenever you went full time, right? Okay. So, I mean, so you're saying that your goal with it really wasn't, you know, to make money on YouTube or, you know, to make money from Amazon links. I mean, you might get that stuff and that's a bonus, but your real ultimate goal in putting that stuff out there was to build, you know, your video production brand so that you could get people that maybe want, you know, how-to tutorials or, you know, talking head videos or whatever to see your stuff and be in your area or fly you in and saying, this is the guy that I need to hire to do that.
Yep, exactly. Yep. I had no sort of goal in terms of subs, views, anything. It had to do with simply, I'm just going to keep putting videos out as long as I own a video production company, and really building personal brand. Like, we only do selective content from the actual company, like unique, like YouTube content, other than like the work we actually produce. The personal brand though just allows me to, you know, when I eventually start my new company of the commercial brand, it's like, it still is tied to my personal brand, which just helps me get it off, you know, just get it kicked off faster, because I'm not really worrying about, like, I'm not starting from scratch. It's just Scott McKenna is starting this, and now that can just build with me being behind it. So yeah, there were no sort of goals, no sort of, you know, I'm hoping to do this by this. I don't preach, hey, make sure you hit the subscribe button or like button. Like, you can do whatever you want. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. And just to hear kind of your thoughts, behind that. So kind of where we wanted to, take the conversation and spend a little bit of time today is you now run the Wedding Film School YouTube channel and Facebook groups and all of that stuff. So we just kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about, how that transition went over. How did you get involved with that? What was that process, to begin with? Where did that come from?
So I was obviously actively involved with wedding groups, wedding film school groups and things earlier when I started in the business, like a lot of people, because when I actually started doing weddings, it was 2014 when I actually kind of started really officially doing weddings. And so Wedding Film School existed at that time. There was a lot less, like I used Creative Live and different resources first before I kind of came across those. But as I kind of came across those, I was pretty active in YouTube comments and different things of just interacting with people. And, I was a part of whatever groups existed at that time. I don't remember exactly what groups they were, but just kind of once again showing up constantly, which is what I was looking to do in that network. And so when I first talked to Kraig, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or so, he noticed me from just being a person that was, first of all, just actively involved. I know your name, Nick, because I see you obviously post in the groups and the kind of stuff. Like, it's about showing up nonstop. When he kind of got to the point where he was phasing himself out of weddings and naturally going to make the next transition, I had already been posting, we're now fast forwarding that part of the conversation to May of last year when I went full time, as I started to post more and more vlogs and more behind the scenes stuff, which that behind the scenes thing started to really be heavily linked with Wedding Film School, the one that I did on my personal channel. As those things started to show up more and more, and Kraig would start to see that I was that I was kind of already, my channel was starting to co-brand with his channel because YouTube was saying, hey, when we show people Wedding Film School content and then they see Scott's, they both like those. So like they started to show up more, which is why, like, if you, search for Wedding Film School on YouTube and these different places, you'll come across my channel as well from just related tags. So naturally, when he was looking to essentially get rid of the channel, / kind of hand it over, he only believed that I could take it over because the fact that I was already creating that kind of stuff for my channel, and it just so happened that I could easily migrate wedding-based stuff only over to Wedding Film School rather than it being on my channel instead. So the same reason, like I said about building personal brand, is it's the same thing that a lot of people reached out to him, of people that, hey, I would love to take over the channel. I'd love to do this. I'd love to do that. But they were doing nothing on their own channels, or showing nothing that they were building, showing no sign that, like, how do I know you're going to do anything with the channel? You've done nothing with your own channels. So when I said, hey, I'm interested in taking that over because I will, I'm already producing the kind of content. I had built the channel to 30,000 subs in 15 months, and I had gotten I think that my behind the scenes has, 300,000 views in it now. But the whole point being, people already started to associate me in the wedding film education per se space, that it was a really easy transition when I eventually was like, hey, this is something I would be interested in talking about, is kind of taking that over. He already knew me from years of watching different stuff, that it was the easiest transition versus the countless other people that wanted to, but didn't really have any proof that, like, they were going to continue actually making anything for it. So then I took it over from him. And I hate using that word "take it over" because it's kind of it's just a weird way to put it. But he naturally was leaving weddings. And if you know Kraig, when he's done with something, he's done with something. So when he, gets tired for 1 second of a camera piece, like, it's sold and he's done and he's never going to see it again. And so he was at the point of kind of wanting to just, like, because he's a minimalist, he wants, if it's even in his brain and he doesn't want to do with it, he'd rather just like shut everything down entirely. So he was about to just literally delete the Wedding Film School channel entirely, delete the group, delete everything, because just existing made him like just have anxiety of like, I have to do something with this. And so that's kind of when I took it over. And then, and then that's kind of where we're at now and kind of how it got there.
Yeah. So what has that been like? Like, have you enjoyed it? Are you still as excited, today to, now have two pretty popular, successful YouTube channels that you're, in charge of? And is there more pressure with the Wedding Film School to come out with, content at a certain time? I know you kind of had this for your channel, like whenever I film something, I make something,
right,
kind of whatever. But with the Wedding Film School, is there a little more, it needs to be bigger, it needs to be better, it needs, are you feeling pressure from that?
I think it's less about the pressure. I feel more about the fact that like I will pre-think out what I'm going to post on Wedding Film School, because I'm not looking to produce nonstop. Like I want to produce a lot of content, but like I don't need to post vlogs there. I don't need to post. I want to post things that specifically are targeted. In my YouTube channel, there's a combination of wedding filmmakers, but also a lot of just video production people in general. So like I don't cater that to a wedding film base. Wedding Film School, I really want to be strategic about, exactly what I'm talking about is directly and only targeted to wedding filmmakers, because that's obviously who follow the channel. So really it's different in the manner that, I don't need to do 3 videos a week. I don't need to do 4 a month. I mean, I'd like to get to at least 1 a week, but at the end of the day, it's more about, I want to make sure that it becomes not about just my face. That's partially why there's not been, as much content, is because I'm building a community of wedding filmmakers that show up on that channel, where I'll run the channel and make sure I see what goes on it and make sure I approve what happens on it. But I don't want it to be my face only, for the exact reason that, when Kraig left it, obviously there's a transition period of people that wanted to see Kraig on the channel. I don't ever want it to be needing to be me showing up at any point on the channel, because that doesn't allow you to scale. The same reason that I stopped talking about when I talk to bride and grooms now for my own business, I never tell them I'm the one that's filming the weddings. I don't want to be pigeonholed into, if it's not me, it's going to fail. It needs to be built. So I've had, over the last 6 months, so much of my effort has been less into what content is being posted, but more of like, what does this actually look like from a business perspective over the next 5 years, 10 years? And it's way more than me posting a video once a week talking about gear reviews for wedding filmmakers. Yeah, those things can exist, but I would much rather have, 15 behind the scenes a year posted, and there are 15 different behind the scenes from different wedding film companies around the world that you can watch how different people work, and you can watch interviews and podcasts with those. So our podcast will hopefully start very soon back up, the one that Kraig canceled. He's a minimalist, so he kind of cancels everything, and then you got to kind of start it back over. But so there'll be a podcast linked with that, and there'll be different ways that we can interact more with some of the best known filmmakers around the world, because with the popularity of the channel grows access to, any filmmakers that exist want to promote themselves as well through Wedding Film School. So it's an easy transition for us to get people on podcasts and in videos and doing behind the scenes for that, but making it a community much more than it is myself, because I think that we all get more value from watching how a lot of people work rather than like one person. I can only show you how I film a wedding once a year, because I don't change it every single time I go. It's not like a whole new approach each time I go to film a wedding. So I want to see more people on there.
Yeah, I really like that idea. So you're kind of, as you have taken it over the last year, your real push to do that is to continue to just build this community that's already there, but not make it Scott centric, make it, the wedding community centric. So like, yep, your vision for this is to really have it be a community, not just a person. Like obviously you'll oversee it and, make sure it's good content and all that stuff, but Yeah, you don't want yourself to always be on it. I really like that idea. You're educating, but you're also empowering other people at the same time.
Yeah, and the best education happens from learning from a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. If you only follow one person ever in one specific topic, you can only ever learn as much as they know. Like, we can all learn from what different filmmakers do, even if they're at different levels than us. Because the other part about the community is the fact that there's, with 130,000 subscribers, that's a huge range of person that's never filmed a wedding yet to a person that has just been following the channel for 5 years and they now film 50 weddings a year, to a person that, like me, that might be kind of transitioning somewhat out of weddings and like, what's the next step for that? Like, there's got to be a range of people shown. And like, I have, a Scott-centric channel already that exists for other stuff I want to post. So that will always remain whatever I want to post there. But the Wedding Film School one, like, I don't need it nor want it to be, you need to see me on there. It just puts all the pressure on me needing to always create the videos when I can give more value back. Everything's a value exchange. Mm-hmm. I can get the best filmmakers in the world to produce or let us film behind the scenes of their weddings, where the average everyday person would never have access to do that, because we have an audience and everyone wants an audience. We're all fighting for attention. And so I can utilize the leverage of the channel to provide value back to somebody, because I need to make sure that they get more value out of it than me. Because when I ask someone to do something for me, when I ask someone to be on a podcast, when I ask someone to be on a YouTube video, I need to figure out what they want. It's not about what I want. It's not about what value I get from it. It's about they need to get value from what I'm giving them. Mm-hmm. And so the value we give is obviously attention. It's a lot of people seeing it, and everyone's value is different. Some people just want attention from more people on their YouTube channel. Other people just want money. Other people want to just be a part of the network of, the inquiries that we get all the time of brides inquiring about filming a wedding. Other people just want to be a part of the network that we refer people to. Like, there's a lot of different value people get out of things, and that's why I think there's value in the community, because one wedding filmmaker can't handle all the inquiries that come in. And so I want it to be like, hey, here are the Wedding Film School pros. We have them all over the country, and here's who we can recommend in those places.
Yeah, man, I like that idea. That's really cool. Building the community and even setting up, a referral base or whatever you may be doing. So are those some kind of the big plans that you have moving forward? Is there any? Did you think 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line of Wedding Film School, is there any other things that you'd really like to dream up that you haven't mentioned, or anything else?
Oh, I'm always dreaming. I mean, there's definitely, I can see it. I look for, humongous goals and humongous ideas before anything else. But I mean, there's no reason that Wedding Film School shouldn't be a resource for people other than wedding filmmakers. It should be a resource for the wedding industry, including brides and grooms. That Wedding Film School can easily become a brand that Wedding Film School is in charge of taking care of your wedding. And that includes wedding planners, wedding photographers, wedding filmmakers, wedding DJs, our network has attention of weddings. Mm-hmm. There's millions and millions and millions of views following wedding filmmakers follow it around. Well, we could very easily do the same thing with photographers, with wedding planners, with different places, that it could be a resource that just helps all people, not just filmmakers. Mm-hmm. And there's so many huge ideas when it comes to what it could be 5 to 10 years from now. And I'd prefer that it would not be me having to do it all. It just makes much more sense to have more people involved.
I think one thing that keeps standing out to me is just the value you're placing on your time. And I feel like as you get going in your business, if you're a new videographer, it's like, I'll do whatever I can to make ends meet. I just need food. I need to, I'm building this brand, and you get in this, routine of going and going and going and going. And if you don't like 2 years ago, I stepped back, it's my 12th year now doing wedding films. And it was like, what do I love doing? What is worth my time? I've got 2 little girls too. And it's just like that common thread of like, I don't want to build something necessarily that I'm 100%, responsible for, my face being on it moving forward. And I guess, just the people listening, them being able to hear that like it doesn't always have to be them all the time, building this team around you. You're taking over this channel with 130,000 subscribers or whatever, and that's a lot of people's like dream. They just want this big audience, and I think that why it continues to grow and what with your channel growing is that it's more so about following your passion and following what's important to you, as opposed to just that whole following the numbers or chasing the things. Like when we talked to Kraig on the podcast a couple weeks ago, it was like, well, do you remember a moment that was like a big milestone or whatever? And he was just kind of talking about, if you're chasing the milestone, you're only going to hit that milestone and be chasing the next milestone.
Yeah,
and so,
of course.
Having the big goals out in front of us, obviously great, but, doing those things that you love and protecting your time along the way, that's pretty cool to hear from you.
Yeah. And I mean, it like I said earlier, and I can't preach this enough now because it's important, is just, it comes down to your ego. Like you either are going to decide that you want to be the only person because you're the only person capable of doing it, and you can only ever scale to a certain point. And for some people, that's okay. Like if you're looking to, make $75,000, $100,000 a year, and you just want it to be a one-man shop, you want to do it all, that's totally fine. Like that, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But I look at it like, number one, I have more fun working with people. And more importantly, if I'm looking to build a big company and to make big things happen, it's not possible with just me because we all have the same 24 hours in a day to work with. So, that's the hardest part I'm going through even now. Like I have, 3 people working for me, but I don't have enough I have my company, I have my YouTube channel, I have Wedding Film School YouTube channel, and I also still am a music director at a church just because I like doing it. I have no time whatsoever to do any of those things, but I'm finding time to do it somewhere because I value it. But the reason both the channels grow and the reason that any channel grows is people either go to a channel because they're like entertained or they're inspired or they're educated. Like my channel is all about providing value to people, providing value that I'm going to just talk about what I'm doing and how I'm growing and how I'm failing, because it will hopefully help you along your journey. Wedding Film School is the same way. And that's what it's really about. I think too many people fail to grow, especially YouTube channels and things, because they're making it entirely about them. What do they want out of it? What do they want to get from this? What are their goals? Like versus my goal is to provide value. I know what it's doing for me in the background, but so I don't need to focus on like what it's actually doing for me on like each time I post. I just think about, is this somewhat valuable to people in some way? Then great. It's not gonna be valuable to everybody every single time, but if my goal is to provide more value to you than I ask from you, then that's where growth, I think, happens.
Yeah, the whole Gary V 5149. Yeah.
Yep. So I live my life. Try to, at least.
Yeah. I was just going to say, as you're talking about that, there's so many, kind of bringing it back to weddings specifically, there's so many of us in this industry that, we're so interested in getting our perfect shot or, looking to build our portfolio on a wedding day rather than how do we serve, the couples that we work with, how to make their day better. And that's seems to be kind of what you're wanting to do with this. You're not, with your channels and all that stuff, you're not really concerned about what it's doing for you. You're wanting to help other people and kind of serve them in a way so that they can grow and they can succeed and they can learn something as well, not just from you.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why, like, I'd be foolish to think that like I am the one that should be talking about everything wedding film based education, because like there are people that have been doing it. I mean, John, you've been doing it way longer than I have. Like there's something that we can learn from everybody. And there's something that everybody can bring everybody in value, but most people don't. Most people, once again, going back to ego, don't want to teach anything they know because they fear that you will get better than them and then take their work. And here's the FYI for anyone doing wedding films. There's plenty of work. You're not going to run out of bride and grooms. Like, and that's like, it's just, once you get past thinking that you are the best and that you should learn from people, and also you should always be learning from someone and helping someone else under you learn to where you're at. I'm not concerned with, like, if Pablo works for me for 5 years or 10 years and he gets so incredible that he does his own thing, like, great. That means I led pretty well. If I can get you so pumped up that you think you can do your own business and I lose you as an employee because of that, then I'm leading pretty well. Because I don't like, and me holding back information when I was, training him as a second shooter or anyone else, me trying to, like, keep certain secrets so that no one can be as good of a shooter as me, that hurts my wedding film or my commercial work. Right. I need you to be as good as you possibly can be. And what benefit does it provide for me to not share everything I know to make sure that you know everything I do? Like, that's, and that's what's helped a lot. And if someone really moves on, like, that's just part of life. You can't let that cripple you.
Right, man. Good, solid information, man. That's good, great words to, live by, and, as you run your business and just how you treat other people. That's great. As we're, running out of time and kind of closing up, if, where can people, find you if they want to follow you on, what's your YouTube channels or, Instagram or Twitter or wherever, where can people, find your work and, begin to just follow you some more if they don't already?
I try to be anywhere that I have an account, I'm active on it, or else I delete the account. I mean, so you can definitely obviously find me on YouTube. It's just Scott McKenna. Instagram is at Scott McKenna. Twitter is at Scott W. McKenna. Those are my 3 favorite. I'm super active on Facebook as well. Wedding Film School groups are all part of it. You can kind of find me anywhere. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. So anywhere you search for me, you should be able to come up with something. And I like to engage with people as much as I can, but that's always a battle because like I said, time is, excuse me, time is what we're all fighting for. And so I can only, even to these days, comment back as much as I possibly can, because I run out of time to do that too. And I still need to operate a business. So.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today. We really appreciate you taking the time and sharing some quality knowledge, not only about, service and building your brand, but the future plans for Wedding Film School. We're really excited to see what you do. So thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, see ya.
See ya.